Do we want to keep on the academic and talking about agnosticism, or do we want to dive into someone who saw you on the show and wants to follow up?
I think I would like to tie this into agnosticism a little bit more because we're kind of running on that. But
okay. Then
absolutely,
let's do it.
I want to talk to Ryan as well.
Okay, then let's start off with Moldred. Moldred in New York wants to discuss definitions of agnosticism and doubt of other ideas and philosophies. Moldred, you're live with Eric and V.
Oh, hi. You the Lord of Hosts?
The what?
The Lord of Hosts. Because they said, keep on the line till the host talks to you. But all right, let's get back. Let's get to the subject. Last week I sent a super chat about my goal in life is to convince people to be agnostic about everything.
Okay.
And you used one definition of agnostic that different from what I do, which would be my definitions of agnostic are sort of in the same line as skepticism and doubt.
Okay.
Basically, what I meant was I learned how to use maybe logic, and I want to encourage other people to also use maybe logic, which is,
admirable.
Never accept anything. What?
I said it's
never
admirable.
Accept anything to be 100% one thing or 100% another thing, but always work in possibilities.
Yeah, that's skepticism. I absolutely agree, and we encourage people to be skeptics. You disagree about the definition of agnosticism, though. How do you define agnosticism?
Doubt that you can ever know everything, or you can ever know anything 100%.
Okay, how do you use agnosticism as a separate word from skepticism? Because that's has a lot to do with skepticism.
No, they are different.
But I'm asking.
They are different. When I use skepticism, I'm sort of defining it as being what's the best way to put it? Withholding accepting anything to be true. Agnosticism, I would define as just doubting anything is 100%. Well, I consider skepticism saying, well, I'll wait till there's definite proof before I even accept it to be like 0.0001%. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I get that, but I kind of want to push back because I feel like we can use those definitions in better ways. When I talk about agnosticism, the reason I talk about it as, defining as something as unknowable is because I find myself having more conversations where that's a useful definition. There are people who will say, oh, hey, how do you know that you're not in the Matrix? How do you know you're not a brain in a vat or a jar or, and everything around you is an illusion? Well, I'm agnostic to that. Why am I agnostic to that? Because I don't think that is knowable. It is not a testable claim. And because it is completely unfalsifiable, for me, the way I use the word agnostic, I say that I'm agnostic to that. I view it as something that I have no way of knowing. There is no possible way to determine whether or not that's true. And so that's why I use the word agnostic to mean that, because I find that in conversations, words like skepticism and doubt and atheist suffice.
Yes, but can you be 100% sure that anything is not true?
Well, that's just application of skepticism, isn't it?
That's the application. Well, what you call skepticism is what I call maybe logic.
I think logic is not a maybe this is that, maybe that. Yeah, logic is something you can take a course in.
Not just logic, but maybe logic. maybe logic is an idea that was put forward by people like, I don't know, 70s, 80s, something like that. Kind of a
Moldred, you got to understand. For us,
Aristian Discordian concept.
Got it. But here's the thing: if you're using definitions of words that are steeped in references to things that we haven't read or don't have access to, or if you're assuming that other people have read and have access to that information ahead of time for them to be able to use the word the same way, I think that's poor communication.
The definition is available. You just have to Google it, Bing it, look it up, whatever.
Well, we do when we talk about logic, though. That's not what we're talking about. But when you talk about maybe logic,
not logic, maybe logic.
Yeah.
But logic is something totally different.
This sounds like Terry Pratchett speak.
It really does. Are you? I'm looking up maybe logic right now, and what I'm seeing is a 2003 documentary about Robert Anton Wilson. Is this what you're talking about?
Exactly. That's the guy. That's the guy who came up with the idea of maybe logic. And I met him. I shared a couple of beers with him. I went to some of his lectures when he was in New York, and I miss him. I'd love to know what he would think of what's going on in the world today.
Well, so while that's really
interesting. This person sounds interesting. A guerilla ontologist, psychedelic magician, outer head of the Illuminati, and quantum psychologist.
Oh, God, that sounds awful. But maybe that's just marketing.
He and Bill Schnoebelen could get together and have a beer or something.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh, gosh.
He was a fantastic person.
I guess
I would suggest you should try.
Mordred,
I would suggest reading some of his books.
Moldred, here's the thing, though, man. If you want to get into having this conversation, talking about the definition of agnosticism is a really circuitous way to do that.
Yeah.
Because we need to have a common understanding of something like that to be able to discuss it. But if you're using definitions that we don't know and referencing things that we haven't read about, and then are like going in that direction, it's not a productive way to have a conversation. If instead you wanted to say, hey, I want to talk about Discordianism, and I specifically want to talk about this concept of maybe logic and why maybe logic is useful or fun or interesting to check out, that could be a much better way to enter into a conversation about this.
Okay.
Yeah, but
you want to go that route? All right.
Well, no, I don't. I do want to give you a better way to enter into having this conversation, because the way that we started here, it says in you told our call screeners, or at least they put in the show notes, that you want to discuss definitions of agnosticism and doubt of other ideas and philosophies. And it sounds like where you really wanted to go was talking about other definitions and concepts that we're going to need to do some research on. So how about this, Moldred? V and I, we've got a lot on our plate right now, but if we have the opportunity, we'll look into it. And if we do get to look into it, then maybe we can talk about it in a way that everyone can benefit from later.
And I will link the concept of maybe logic in the description.
That way people who are watching, if they're interested.
So if anybody's interested in looking into that more, they can do that from the show notes.
V, I appreciate that. Moldred, how's that sound?
That sounds great. Is there any way I can send you some of Robert Anton Wilson's books?
So here's the thing.
One called Cosmic Triggers.
Moldred, I might have time for a video, but if you send me the book, all
right.
I don't want you to waste the postage, and I don't want to promise something that I may not be able to fulfill on, because that's not nice on my part. So I just want to be honest with you.
But if you do want to send us things that can be sent over email, then you can contact us. It's contactskepticgeneration@gmail.com, and that goes directly to us.
Yeah. Moldred, thank you so much for calling.
I'll send you some YouTube videos of Robert Anton Wilson.
Okay, try and find ones that are concise and to the point, because if they need to find, agnosticism as an entryway into the conversation, I might wind up skipping past until we get to the meat. But in the meantime, Moldred, thank you so much for calling.
Okay, yeah, thank you for taking my call.
Absolutely. I'm confused.
Me too.
Here's the thing, like I get the concept of Discordianism. Like I get the concept behind it. And to me, it strikes me the same way as the flying spaghetti monster strikes me, where it's like, okay, like that's fun for you if that's like the thing that you want to dedicate your time to pursuing. Cool. I get that it's making a meta commentary about religion or the development of mythology or epistemology. That's really cool. But when you are having conversations with people who are not part of that group, you really, really need to make sure that you're using language that we can understand, or at least prefacing new definitions with, hey, this is a new definition. So I'm going to describe this thing for you now and then see what you think about it, right?
Yeah. I mean, being honest interlocutors means that we are genuinely listening to and interacting with the ideas that you're putting forward. And we are taking what you're saying as honest, that to the best of your ability, what you're saying is true, is what you believe to be true, and all of that. So the best way to respect that is to make sure that we have the tools to be able to engage with you in that way. Otherwise, we're just talking past each other.